as we saw in these reports, burnout is real in the nonprofit space, and there's a huge concern around it.
Maybe it's reporting, it's donor segmentation, it's data entry into the system for their case notes, those kind of things. Um, think about the pain points first, and then start thinking about where AI might be a solution to those pain points rather than thinking about it the other way around.
And AI is a tactic and not the goal. And so, again, how is AI helping relieve those pain points, freeing up your staff time so that they can really focus on that mission critical work?
Welcome to Mission Tech Moves, a podcast for nonprofits who want to understand technology, how it's changing, and how to apply that practically to your organization. I'm Bialon-Crane. I've been in the nonprofit ecosystem for 10 years, focused on technology and CRM. This is Amy Floryan, who has same experience, kind of working on the marketing side of nonprofit technology. In this episode, we're talking about AI and its potential to help nonprofits feel fully staffed. Bringing in all of the new trends with AI.
Cool. Thanks, Lou. AI tools can automate repetitive administrative tasks, freeing up staff time to focus on that mission critical work. Lou, I just saw a headline come in hot off the press. Let me pull it up here. It's from the Center of Effective Philanthropy State of Nonprofits 2026 report. And the headline said, new report highlights rising levels of burnout among nonprofit leaders and staff. And this is a trend that we've been seeing year after year. The 2025 report also mentioned that 90% of nonprofit leaders are concerned about burnout. And burnout among executives is becoming more critical as this report is showing us.
Definitely. Yeah. And we're seeing that, 90% of nonprofits are using AI, which is actually either right on par or ahead of kind of your for-profit counterparts, which is a really big indicator, I think, of trying to find ways to, do things faster, do more with the resources you have and try to address that problem.
Yeah, and one thing that is interesting that I know we were chatting about is even though 90% of nonprofits report using AI, we saw another survey from the nonprofit Tech for Good that 92% of nonprofits feel unprepared for AI. And we think that difference happens when nonprofit staff may be using AI on one-off use cases or in a silo. And so really focusing on having AI support your overarching goals, and putting policies in place around AI. Again, really coming up with a strategy for AI for your organization, and then governance is another thing that's really important.
Definitely. I think when we're seeing other studies saying things like 3/4 of nonprofits are reporting an increased need for services, we see folks already trying to use AI as a way to stretch your limited capacity, um, do more with what you have without having to hire additional staff because those resources are so tight. But what we're seeing too is that without a strong plan for governance, that folks are just trying to implement AI that maybe is opening up your organization to risk if you're not governing those things as thoroughly as they should be. Um, we think that like a good way to kind of start with AI, especially when you've maybe you don't have a full governance plan in place, is to start with those kind of early use cases that are those really tedious tasks you have, maybe are separate from your client or your constituent data, but things that really help you kind of get familiar with how those tools work before you start diving into those more complicated use cases that are integrated with all of your other data points.
One thing, Lou, that I was at an event that I heard a nonprofit speak about how they were leveraging AI. And at first, when they wanted to leverage AI within their organization, they were throwing out these very complex use cases. And they're like, what about this? What about this? What about this? But it just wasn't getting traction. And what that nonprofit did, which I thought was really cool, was they sat down with their staff and said, okay, show me your day-to-day tasks. How do you do data entry? How do you do this task? And they found that within a group, data entry was such a big pain point for a specific team where they had to perform, take at least 10 clicks to get through, one task. And then there was a lot of grumbling and annoyance around this task. So they decided to actually focus their AI initiative on that, and put in place AI to streamline that task for their staff members. And so they were saying that the result was that instead of 10 clicks, they got it down to 3 clicks, and the data entry became that much quicker. The data that was being entered was also more accurate. And staff were loving AI because it then really helped them get rid of that repetitive task, and they can now focus on the work that they were doing. So I just thought that was a really cool example of, an AI initiative that on the surface of it may not have seemed that big, but it had such a huge impact, and the staff were excited about it as well. And so now they're trying to see, like, oh, what else can AI do for me? Which I thought was brilliant.
I love that. Yeah. I think thinking about AI as something that can help you do the things that are maybe at the bottom of your to-do list. You keep pushing it to the end of the week. You're like, I don't want to focus on data entry. I want to do the work that is really meaningful to me. I think, especially in this nonprofit space, we're all in this space because we want to do that work that matters to us. We want to have that mission focus in our work. And AI is just primed to do more of that work that is not going to necessarily bring us all joy in this nonprofit space, for sure.
And I also love that, as we saw in these reports, burnout is real in the nonprofit space, and there's a huge concern around it. So how can AI be viewed as a tactic to support your people, to and not to replace them? This is allowing nonprofits to feel fully staffed and empowering them to achieve their goals. Um, Lou, do you have any suggestions on, pilot projects or how nonprofits can get started?
Yeah, definitely. I think maybe start by thinking of one pain point that your staff is experiencing. Maybe it's reporting, it's donor segmentation, it's data entry into the system for their case notes, those kind of things. Um, think about the pain points first, and then start thinking about where AI might be a solution to those pain points rather than thinking about it the other way around. Once you've kind of got a use case and maybe a way that AI can support, make sure that you're measuring the impact of that AI implementation. That way you can easily refine it, make any changes you need to make sure it's more effective, or perhaps you need to pivot to something else that might have a bigger impact for your organization. But really starting small and thinking through those use cases, measuring their impact, and then refining it into broader adoption, I think is a great way to start.
And I like also, again, just that idea of, you need to enable your staff with AI as well. So really understanding what they need. Is it additional training? What does that training look like? You will have staff on either side of the spectrum, some that are eager and ready to jump in and get ready. And then you may have staff that are a little bit more hesitant and have concerns. So, helping just have resources and support for wherever they fall in that spectrum is important. Um, Also, having a nice feedback loop as well. So, getting feedback from your staff, is this improving their day to day tasks? Is it improving that pain point for them? Will just make that AI initiative um, much stronger and successful, and then also really help with enablement as well.
Definitely. I think having kind of both sides of that, of adopters and people who are maybe more resistant to it, really pulls that adoption forward, both by helping those people who are really excited have a roadmap, have a understanding of where you're going as an organization, but also helping those people who are maybe more resistant or don't see the value of it, having them work with people who are excited, as well as getting their perspective of why they're resistant. I think there's a lot to be learned about, the privacy or the concerns that they have about AI, making sure that that's included in your governance and your strategy for AI. I think is really important. We've seen a few like real world examples of kind of applying, the first few steps of AI pilots and things like that. I think a couple great ideas to start thinking through are things like prioritizing incoming support requests. So if you've got either a call center for your donors to call in, volunteers, or your constituents directly, helping triage those support requests, maybe responding to the sort of immediate ones, the really simple ones, and being able to reduce response times, reduce times that people spend on hold. That can be a really powerful way for you to kind of address that increased need for services and things like that as well. And then that helps your staff really focus on that one-to-one connection that they've got, building those relationships with your community rather than responding to really simple, straightforward tasks. I think the message here is that AI is really a great way for us to empower ourselves instead of replacing. We're not thinking about AI in a way that we might see on the commercial or for-profit side. AI for nonprofits really is about supporting our staff and our volunteers, not replacing them, not cutting costs. It's really about automating those routine tasks, helping us free up time for that mission-driven work, so we can really do more with kind of what we have and meet our community where they need us to be.
Yep. And AI is a tactic and not the goal. And so, again, how is AI helping relieve those pain points, freeing up your staff time so that they can really focus on that mission critical work?
Well, thanks for joining us today. We hope you'll join us for our next episode focused on how to start implementing AI at your organization ethically and building a solid framework that supports your mission.
Mhm. Thank you.